Hello. In an effort to stave off the tedium of doing my monthly Barclaycard statement for finance, I thought it would be maybe quite interesting to talk to you all about something interesting. Failing that, just to share you something I do with students every so often, and that is talk about risk assessment. Obviously this is a serious subject and it covers a lot of things. Specifically, I thought it'd be interesting possibly for us to look at the following: animals in theatre, camels, elephant, dogs, basic precautions walking onto stage, flying, fire eating, raked stages, handrails, explosives, Peter Pan's bottom, fire alarms, infrared cameras and their use, and anything else that crops up along the way. What I've found from doing this previously is that I have quite a short attention span, and also I find it quite difficult to read from notes. Further to that, I never write anything down before I start, which means that whenever I've done any talks to students in the past, they've had what could only be described as a fairly unique experience, because afterwards I can't remember what I've said. And I would add to that by saying that anything I say here is not necessarily true. There's a reasonable chance that some of the things I talk to you about are true, and there's a moderate chance that some of them are in fact good, sensible legal advice. But I want to put it right up there at the outset that following this advice, any advice I've given, is purely up to you, and it's not my fault if it goes terribly wrong. Okay? So, fire eating. Now, I've been asked in the past, is fire eating dangerous? Well, the simple answer is, well, yes, of course it is, because it's fire, and as suggested in the title, eating is probably going to involve you shoving fire in your own mouth. I was unfortunate enough to be stage managing a pantomime once, Peter Pan, with a really nice lady from Emmerdale playing Peter Pan, and it was decided that she was going to have to do some fire eating in the show, and naturally enough she was a bit reticent to do that, and I volunteered to learn with her so it would make it clearly a lot nicer. I don't know what she was thinking. Anyway, we learned to fire eat, and that was good. And then she did it in the show, and that was also good. What I didn't fully realise at the time was that many years later, I was going to get a call from the BBC asking me to go in and appear on a show called Star Secrets, where the lovely girl who played Peter Pan was going to talk about, with Carol Smiley for some reason, presenting the show. Anyway, she had recently won Rear of the Year award and was very much in demand. So anyway, I had to go on this programme in my role as the stage manager from the show that was being talked about, and the main premise was that the girl playing Peter Pan was talking about when she'd accidentally flown into a wall. Now I should put it at this point, that wasn't my bloody fault. She stood in the wrong place. We'll maybe come on to counterweight flying at another point, and also pendulum flying for people, where you lift someone off the ground and they swing and they land at the other end of the swing. That's quite logical. What happens obviously if you're standing in the wrong place to start with, when you lift off the ground and swing, you'll swing in a straight line because you do, and if there happens to be a wall in the way, you'll swing into it. If, as she had rehearsed, Peter Pan stood in the right part of the nursery, when the windows flew open, she would have flown out. The fact that she was standing by bloody Wendy's bed when she shouldn't have been, which meant that she then in fact just swam into the wall, that was entirely her fault. Anyway, I digress, which is not unusual. Where were we? Yes, anyway, so on this programme we blarred through the whole thing about her flying and whose fault it was that she crashed into the wall, and it was all very good. And then at the end somebody suddenly mentioned fire eating, and unbeknownst to me it had been arranged that as a good finale at the end of the programme, it was Michaela I think was the name of Michaela No, it wasn't. That's somebody else. Really nice girl. Anyway, it was had been decided that we were going to do fire eating at the end, and once again she wanted me to do it with her. And so, bearing in mind that I'd only ever done it once in my life, persuading this girl to do it for the show, and she hadn't done it for several years, it didn't seem a problem. The BBC seemed quite happy with that, and all I can say is that it's amazing what you'll do on TV in front of a live audience if you don't really think about it very much. What I would say subsequently is don't do fire eating. It's a really bad idea. I did have a friend called Troy the van hippie who was once busking fire eating, and he got suddenly a flurry of people bringing him money, and he didn't understand why. He thought, bloody hell, this is going well today. Wonder why that is. It turned out that, unbeknownst to him, his hair had caught fire, and the audience thought it was part of the act, and that he was doing marvellously. So there you go. I think that's probably about it for fire. Don't do it at home, kids. In fact, don't do it anywhere. It's a ridiculous thing to do. The other thing I definitely wouldn't do is if you're ever sitting in front of a big open fire, for example at Christmas, something like that, and you've got a big mouthful of brandy, don't go into the fire, because a massive flame comes out of the fireplace and can set fire to the cards that you've got along the mantel shelf. That's something else I've learned from experience. Okay, in a separate film, depending how on earth this is edited, I shall talk to you about some other things that are potentially dangerous.